I'm saying that you're being sexist.
No, I'm being misogynistic.
Over 9 seasons of The Office, we became friends with the employees of Dunder Mifflin Scranton. But as much as there is to love about The Office, always and forever, that friendship could lead to us being pretty forgiving of some legitimately terrible things these characters said and did.
If I had a gun with 2 bullets and I was in a room with Hitler, Bin Laden, and Toby, I would shoot Toby twice.
To be sure, The Office calls out and mines its humor from what's wrong about its office culture, from routine sexual harassment to the ever-upward mobility of mediocre white men.
See, you're always saying there's something wrong with society, but maybe there's something wrong with you.
If it's me, then society made me that way.
As star Steve Carell pointed out, a lot of what is depicted on that show is completely wrong-minded. That's the point, you know?
I don't understand. We have a day honoring Martin Luther King, but he didn't even work here.
Yet even if the intention was to critique a toxic workplace, by making its characters so lovable and laughing off their antics, the show ended up making a lot of bad behavior feel okay. Here are The Office's most toxic takeaways. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about all our new videos. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community where millions of people come together to take classes that fuel their creative journey. The first 1,000 people to use the link in our description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So become a member today and start exploring your creativity for less than $10 a month. Toxic takeaway number 1. People who do bad things aren't all that bad. The American version of The Office was based on a much harsher and shorter British show. The boss of the British office, David Brent, was utterly irredeemable, and Michael Scott was originally written that way too.
But what some of you might not know is that I am also part Native American Indian.
What part Native American?
2/15. You know what? It's kind of hard for me to talk about. They're suffering.
But after a rocky first season when the show almost got canceled, the writers decided to soften Michael Scott's character. To do this, instead of making Michael a significantly better person, they had everyone else react to him as if he was not that bad.
And then tomorrow, I can tell you what a great boss you turned out to be.
As writer and Moe's actor Michael Schur said, we still maintained his inappropriateness, his blind spot for how people viewed him, his desperate desire to be loved and admired, but we just made everybody be 10% nicer to him. As the show went on, other badly behaved characters like Andy, Dwight, and Angela were similarly softened by being accepted by their coworkers. And following these cues, we root for these people who do despicable things, like tag Asian women to tell them apart, or hide the parentage of their son.
And I lied to you.
What?
Philip's your son.
Because they're our friends. Toxic takeaway number 2, Toxic Jim. Laughing at people makes you better than them.
Little advice, take a day off from the whole Jim shtick. Try caring about something.
As our main viewpoint character, Jim constantly looks to the camera because he knows the audience also sees how unacceptable everyone else's behavior is.
I'm serious. My closet doors will not shut. So now I'm doing this new thing where I just leave piles of clothes on the floor.
Jim likes to stay above it all. He barely dresses up for Halloween. He lets Michael fall into a koi pond, and he abandons Aaron in emotional turmoil because it's boring him.
I'm sorry, that just wasn't interesting to me.
By the end, the show does challenge Jim to overcome his tendency to detach as he takes risks to pursue a career he actually cares about. But this is after 8 seasons of subtly reinforcing to us that standing back and making faces at others' quirky passions makes you the coolest, smartest person in the room.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
In reality, Jim's above-it-all mentality makes him complicit in the transgressions he witnesses. Everyone in the office sexually harasses Pam, and Jim, our hero, the guy who loves her, doesn't do anything about it.
And I'm thinking that next time you're in the shower, you should check yourself out. You know, give yourself an exam. Those things are like ticking time bags.
Toxic takeaway number 3. Sexual harassment is funny and part of the job. The Office does show how egregious and relentless sexual harassment can be.
Usually the day we talk about sexual harassment is the day that everyone harasses me as a joke.
Pam Beasley, office hottie.
She will do you.
But it also sends the message that someone can routinely sexually harass their coworkers and still be a good guy at heart.
You know what? The only thing I am worried about is getting a boner.
The show uses the hateable Todd Packer as its straw man harasser, implying that the other male characters may say the wrong thing from time to time, but they're okay as long as they're not him.
To be fair, blondes, brunettes, there are a lot of dumb people out there.
Right, they are women, right?
Oh, wow! I didn't say it!
Meanwhile, CEO Robert California might be worse than Packer. He exposes himself to the entire office. He leaves Nellie, his employee, a filthy voicemail and seems to be pressuring her for sex.
The man talks of nothing but sex.
And he pries into everyone's sex lives during a work meeting.
Andy, why don't you tell us about the best of your life? Or does anyone else have any remarkable they'd like to share? Oh.
But while Robert's obviously meant to read as a creep, this total abuse of power by the big boss plays mostly as humorous eccentricity coasting along on James Spader's entertainment value. Ultimately, The Office's critique of workplace harassment was undercut by making many of the perpetrators too likable, the instances too funny, and the results of the harassment too understated. Only a more observant viewer will focus on how much Pam is worn down by the constant scrutiny of her looks.
Well, I remember why I dress the way I do at work.
How even the self-assured Nellie is unsettled by her boss's advances.
You have a lot going on. With Robert and everything.
Oh, God, Pam, don't get me started.
Or how Oscar is alienated by the ignorant attitudes toward his sexuality.
All right, Michael, but Oscar's really gay.
Exactly.
I mean, for real.
Yeah, I know.
No, he's attracted to other men.
Okay, a little too far, cross the line.
The Office wants to let us enjoy jokes about boorish, inappropriate men without deeply examining the impact their transgressions would have on the people they hurt.
Thank God he's my boss, because I would not have said yes to a first date if I didn't have to.
Toxic takeaway number 4. Toxic Dwight. Violent men are sweet. Dwight's frontier masculinity ethos also feels darker in our current political landscape.
Win at all costs, don't respect women. These are the tenets I was brought up with, and they have served me well.
It's hard not to think that if The Office were written today, Dwight would join any number of violent alt-right groups. He hides weapons at work, and is part of a street vigilante group.
Knights of the Night are volunteer crime patrollers. We're often compared to the Guardian Angels, but we could not be more different from them.
He's obsessed with the idea of proving his strength in a crisis situation that will never come. And let's not forget his little flirtation with fascist populism.
Blood alone moves the wheels of history!
Yet he's one of the show's most endearing characters. To be fair, Dwight grew a lot over 9 seasons. He was never driven by hatred, and he was far from an incel, never blaming women for his problems, and having a female best friend.
An office administrator, Pamela Beasley Halpert, is my best friend.
Yet, by making Dwight so sweet and admirable underneath his plethora of weapon-related hobbies, the show may have led viewers to feel that most others with outwardly reactionary beliefs must secretly be big softies too. Events since the show went off the air have shown it's dangerous to assume this is the case, which brings us to toxic takeaway number 5, Toxic Angela. Karens are lovable too.
I'm a vegetarian. What can I eat?
It's all vegetarian.
I'll just have some bread.
Angela's Karen-like attributes are troubling today. She slut-shames coworkers for the slightest deviance from her very rigid idea of appropriate sexuality.
Phyllis, I need you to pick up green streamers at lunch.
I thought you said green was whorish.
No, orange is whorish.
She's also incredibly racist.
I once reported Oscar to the INS. Turns out he's clean, but I'm glad I did it.
By the end of the show, we're supposed to believe that Angela has been humbled by her fall from grace and will be a kinder person from here on out. Her friendship with Oscar after they're both jilted by the senator is touching.
Come stay with me.
You don't want me at your place.
I do. Yes. Not forever, but until you get back on your feet.
But we've always known that there's a huge gap between Angela's private behavior and her public persona. The sympathy for Angela implies that it's okay for people to have very incorrect, even hateful political beliefs, as long as they're semi-nice in their personal lives. Angela's best/only friend is gay, so we're made to feel she must not really hate gay people, even though she never stops expressing prejudiced, ignorant views about LGBTQ people in general.
Where does gayness come from?
My pastor said it can come from breastfeeding.
He said that?
Well, he didn't fight me hard on it.
By the end of the show, Angela has learned how to make exceptions for people she knows personally, but she hasn't actually widened her worldview. Toxic takeaway number 6, attractiveness equals relatability.
I mean, who's going to give Kevin an award? Dunkin' Donuts?
When The Office starts, Jim and Pam are our viewpoint characters. The show telegraphs this to us in a few ways, like how they look at us, the audience, more than other characters.
He's always looking at the camera like this. What is that?
But the biggest way the show tells us to like Jim and Pam is that they are the two most conventionally attractive characters on the show, and when Michael's character gets softened in season 2, he also gets a makeover. He gets hotter in order to make us like him more. Conversely, the show's plus-size characters, Kevin, Phyllis, and Stanley, actually get less sympathetic and more othered as the show progresses.
He is not an idiot.
Thank you, Holly.
He is mentally challenged.
Wait, back up.
Phyllis gets meaner and more inappropriately sexual.
The first time we saw each other naked, we didn't even make love, we just stared at each other. Until we fell asleep. It was magical.
Kevin turns into a dumb food monster.
I wanted to eat a pig in a blanket. In a blanket.
And Stanley cheats on his wife multiple times.
It's just that Terry's been traveling a lot.
I know.
Toxic takeaway number 7, Toxic Michael. Your job is your family.
Go to your room, young lady.
Michael Scott likes to think of The Office as a family, with him as the dad.
I feel like all my kids grew up and then they married each other. It's every parent's dream.
HR experts call this paternalistic leadership, where the boss acts as a strong authority figure that wants you emotionally invested in your work. But this emotional investment often opens up workers to exploitation.
Your job is being my friend, Pam.
As Sarah Levy wrote in Cosmopolitan, a work family isn't rooted in mutual trust or shared experiences. Rather, it's a strategic phrase used by both CEOs and managers in hopes of keeping employees loyal. Low wages, layoffs, unending sexual and racial harassment? Don't complain. That would hurt work dads' feelings.
I am a victim of a hate crime. Stanley knows what I'm talking about.
That's not what a hate crime is.
Well, I hated it. A lot.
Michael's paternalistic leadership style and over-reliance on the workplace as a family forces his subordinates to do almost a decade of unpaid emotional labor. His Women's Appreciation Day turns into a therapy session for him.
Michael, you shouldn't do anything that you're uncomfortable with.
His workers feel compelled to attend the Dundies despite not being paid for their time and without even getting a free meal.
The Dundies are like a car wreck that you want to look away, but you have to stare at it because your boss is making you.
Toxic takeaway number 8. Your job is your love story.
When people say office relationships are a good idea, they never talk about what might happen if you break up.
The Office is a quagmire of lovers, both past and present, that puts the L word to shame. The show's early success hinged on a love triangle, and when that triangle resolved itself, more took its place. We had Jim, Pam, Roy, Pam, Jim, Karen, Jim, Pam, Toby, Jim, Pam, Alex, Pam, Jim, Kathy, Jim, Pam, Boom Guy, Brian, Dwight, Angela, Andy, Andy, Aaron, Gabe, Aaron, Andy, Jessica, Andy, Aaron, Pete, Jan, Michael, Carol, Jan, Michael, Holly, Michael, Holly, AJ, Ryan, Kelly, Ravi, Ryan, Kelly, Daryl, Daryl, Val, Brandon, Angela, Dwight, Isabel, Dwight, Nellie, Todd Packer, Dwight, Angela, Senator Lipton, and Angela, Senator Lipton, Oscar.
Love triangle, drama. All worked out in the end, though. The hero got the girl. Who saw that coming? I did.
Beyond love triangles, Michael dates Pam's mom, and Toby pines for Nellie. The only long-term relationship that makes it to the finale and isn't with a coworker still involves two people working in the same office park, Phyllis and Bob Vance.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
What line of work you in, Bob?
It's true that more than half of American workers have had a crush on a coworker, but these people act like the office is the only place to find love, and that it's normal for an office to be the center of ever-rotating soap opera romances and drama.
This is the only place I interact with people.
No wonder they barely have time to get any work done. Toxic takeaway number 9. It's normal to have work enemies. Conversely, the number of office rivalries is also deeply weird.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
As a rule, you shouldn't have soap opera levels of emotion invested in your coworkers on either side of the love-hate spectrum.
I don't like to throw around the B word, but I'm gonna be a huge bitch to you.
According to a 2014 study from Monster, the majority of U.S. workers say an overly competitive workplace has harmed their productivity. 55% of respondents who had a work rival said it brought stress, and 20% said their office rivalries even led to problems with management. 0% of respondents said they resorted to planting fake drugs in their work enemy's desk.
Since when is it illegal to put caprese salad anywhere?
Toxic takeaway number 10. Toxic Jim and Pam. Big gestures solve everything.
And now I just want to do something huge for her.
Jim's love of big gestures is pure rom-com nonsense. Relationship experts agree, communication is key to a long-lasting marriage, but Jim's gestures rely on a lack of transparency.
He took this job in Philly without telling me. He bought our house without telling me. At a certain point, he shouldn't be rewarded for that.
And overall, Pam and Jim don't communicate well. They take years to get together because they can't even confess their feelings.
I can't. I'm really sorry if you misinterpreted things.
Thankfully, after years of not expressing their feelings or plans openly to each other, Jim and Pam get couples counseling and do the hard work of actually talking to each other.
I just wanted to say that you woke up early with the kids and let me sleep. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that you appreciate that.
But then the show backtracks on this teachable moment. Jim has the documentary crew express his feelings for him in a supercut, and Pam secretly sells their house.
And I could come to you with this big Jim gesture and show you all at once just how much I love you.
They have learned nothing. Toxic takeaway number 11. Women in the workplace be crazy.
Is it because of these?
It's not.
Because he likes them.
Jan is shown as someone who can't keep her personal life out of work. She loses her mind after her divorce, kisses Michael, and clearly has something going on with her much younger assistant, Hunter.
You took me by the hand, made me a man.
Her character was regressive even for its time. Jan belonged less in an early 2000s sitcom and more in a can a woman do business without becoming some sort of sex monster erotic thriller of the late 80s.
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan. You're firing me? Where the hell do you get off?
Though Jan is no paragon of professionalism, her mistakes are treated differently than those of her male colleagues, not just by the characters, but by the writers of the show.
I guess that makes me the devil.
You are!
Arguably, it's realistic that the company pushes Jan out for her erratic behavior.
Your behavior in the last 2 years has been completely erratic.
Erratic?
Recently, you don't even show an interest in your work.
While offering no shortage of second chances to men who've done worse things.
Which is what we refer to in the business as misleading the shareholders. Another good term is fraud.
But the show itself also leaves Jan behind. It's not really interested in exploring how her increasingly unhinged mindset has been triggered by the toxic workplace she endured at Dunder Mifflin after beginning as a seemingly put-together, dedicated professional.
Are you listening to me, Michael?
Affirmative.
What did I just say?
You just said, let me, check my notes.
Whereas Michael's toxic behavior is softened and normalized over time, Jan's gets her othered and discarded. She becomes an infrequent guest star whose overblown narcissism is totally unrelatable and without redeeming characteristics.
She is one of the most erratic and terrifying people I have ever met.
Toxic takeaway number 12. Toxic creed. Old people are weird.
Why do we as a society hate old people so much?
Because they're lame.
For some, the many eccentricities of Creed Bratton were low-key the best part of The Office.
Find out what language this is. Waarschijnlijk klopt neer maar snel immer die Sorbachka.
Things only get dark when you think about Creed as a person, not a character on a TV show, specifically as the oldest employee.
You don't live as long as I have without a healthy fear of snakes, Bobby.
As retirement becomes less and less tenable, people are being forced to work longer. But according to a report by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the majority of older workers have seen or experienced age discrimination in the workplace. Creed isn't going to help in that department.
I should have written it down. Quabity Ashwins.
Toxic takeaway number 13, Toxic Meredith. Older women are gross.
Bunch of prudes. You know, Oscar's allowed to wear sandals, but I'm not allowed to wear open-toed shoes. Is that how it goes?
Meredith, your boob is out.
Fine.
No.
Meredith, too far!
Kate Flannery gives one of the bravest performances of the show as the drunk, horny single mother Meredith Palmer. But Meredith's many foibles feed the stereotype that older women, especially mothers, are sexually repellent.
Meredith, you've slept with so many guys, you're starting to look like one. Boom, roasted.
Meredith is shamed for her sexuality, her drinking, and the way she parents, even though she's super supportive of her son Jake's career.
Yeah, good song choice, Jakey. Stripper's only as good as a song.
Okay, bad example. Toxic takeaway number 14, Toxic Andy. Entitled white men deserve happy endings.
Andy Bernard does not lose contests, he wins them. Or he quits them because they're unfair.
After Steve Carell left The Office, the show needed to find a new branch manager and ostensible lead of the show. The choice to promote Andy to take Michael's job could be read as an accurate commentary on how mediocre white men inevitably fail up.
You don't have to prove anything. We like you as regional manager.
But the behind-the-scenes story is that Ed Helms was chosen in part because, like Carell at the start of the show, Helms had a movie career that was taking off. So this reveals that Andy's promotion is less critique than it is preserving the tradition that The Office, the series, must be led by a white man who was once on The Daily Show. The show did a good job of depicting Andy's employees' legitimate resentment, as he made it increasingly clear he did not really deserve his position.
2 seconds of the turd dog, and he loses the biggest sale this branch has ever seen.
Not only does everyone hate him for abruptly sailing away to the Caribbean and skipping out on work,
I was worried that you were dead. You were gone for 3 months.
but the branch even does better when he's gone.
It's a bonus check for you from Wallace because the branch exceeded its targets over the past quarter.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Quarter's 3 months, that's how long you've been gone.
Still, the finale has to give Andy a full redemption arc. Despite his public display of gross immaturity and entitlement, he somehow snatches a job at Cornell out of his 15 minutes of viral infamy.
You might feel sorry for me, but I actually feel sorry for you. Because you're about to leave Cornell. So say it with me. Oh, I can so just sit here and cry.
And we're encouraged to feel happy for this child of privilege who's at last managed to return to the university that he's used throughout the show to feel superior to those who weren't trust fund babies.
I went to Cornell. You ever heard of it? I graduated in 4 years. I never studied once. I was drunk the whole time.
Even the show's star, Steve Carell, thinks The Office wouldn't work in today's climate. He said to Esquire, so much of it was predicated on inappropriate behavior. There's a very high awareness of offensive things today, which is good, for sure. But at the same time, when you take a character like Michael Scott too literally, it doesn't really work.
You'll notice I didn't have anybody be an Arab. I thought that would be too explosive. No pun intended.
The employees of Dunder Mifflin may let a lot of horrendous stuff fly, but they also help us laugh at the absurdity of the modern workplace and give us some useful coping skills for interacting with the people we're stuck with.
No matter how you get there or where you end up, human beings have this miraculous gift to make that place home.
There's nothing wrong with finding common ground with people. In the end, we can enjoy the schmaltzier aspects of The Office because sometimes your work family really does care about you. They love you, but you don't have to kiss them. That's just not appropriate.
They say on your deathbed, you never wish you spent more time at the office, but I will.
Hi everyone, I'm Susanna.
I'm Deborah, and we're the creators of The Take.
Please subscribe and tell us what you want our take on next.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare, an online learning community that offers affordable classes designed to fit your schedule and skill level. When you join Skillshare, you'll get access to thousands of workshops taught by amazing professionals, and you'll receive feedback and encouragement from your fellow creatives. One Skillshare original you can check out right now is Maddie Brown's class on low-budget filmmaking tricks that can help you achieve an indie look. This class is perfect for all skill levels, even if you're shooting from an iPhone. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. But that's only if you're one of the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below. So join today and jumpstart your creative journey.